Just imagine, you're a young logger working deep in the forest. The day is ending. The sun is already sinking behind the trees. You're putting away your tools, chatting with your crew, climbing into the truck to head home, and right at that moment, you see it. Something incredible appears between the trees. It's not fire, it's not a lantern, and it's not a movie. This is the real case and the true story of Travis Walton. Travis Walton, at the time a 22-year-old man, born on February 10, 1953 in Arizona. He was raised in a small rural town of Snowflake, along with his mother Mary Walton and a large family in a humble ranch house. On the night of November 5th, 1975, Travis Walton was working as a logger doing tree thinning in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. He was part of a 7-man crew led by Mike Rogers, his best friend and future brother-in-law. Around 6 p.m., as they were finishing up for the day, they were packing their gear while talking on their way to the truck to go home. The sun was setting, and they were driving down a dirt road when, out of nowhere, a soft golden glow appeared around 25 meters away through the trees. At first, Travis thought the light came from a hunter. It was hunting season, and that's what made sense, or maybe a lantern at a campsite. Little by little, his companions began to notice it too, and in silence, they all stared at the glow. Not yet understanding what it really was, they didn't think much about it at first, but what they were about to see would change their lives forever. It wasn't a hunter, it wasn't a lantern either, and it was not from this world. Floating between the trees, right in front of them, was nothing less than a flying saucer. Inexplicably, Travis jumped out of the truck and ran towards the flying saucer, thinking the craft was about to take off. As he got closer, the ship began to move and make a sound. It was a deep, thunderous hum. Travis said it was a strange sensation. You could feel the vibration of the ship more than you could hear the sound of it. The vibration grew stronger, while the guys in the truck screamed at him to get away. But when the ship moved, he got scared and dove for cover behind a log, which, funnily enough, brought him about 3 meters closer to the craft. He stayed there, frozen, staring, and then, without warning, a beam struck him directly into the chest. "They got him!" one of his companions shouted. The entire crew panicked. They didn't know what to do. They stood frozen before something they just couldn't understand, defenseless against an unknown force of nature, and no matter how much they wanted to help, there was nothing they could do. Travis never saw the beam. He was unconscious. The crew who saw it said it hurled him back between 3 and 6 meters. Someone looking in another direction said it lit up the entire forest, brighter than daylight. One described it as a beam the size of a soccer ball. Another said it looked like a lightning bolt. And another said it resembled a long blue flame. They all saw the same thing. They just had different ways to see it. The energy hit Walton and the ship took off, while his companions screamed, "Let's go! They're going to kill us!" Mike, filled with panic, floored the accelerator, nearly crashing the truck as they fled. They drove a short distance, but the shock and the guilt made them turn back quickly. About 10 to 20 minutes later, they returned to the site with flashlights, desperately searching for Travis among the bushes and shouting his name. They found nothing. His body had completely vanished. No blood, no serious burns, nothing. Mike fell to his knees and cried. That same night, the 6 men went to the police to report everything. From the beginning, the police suspected them of murder, but don't judge the police, because you'll think the same. That changed though, when they interrogated them separately, and every single one of them gave the exact same story. There were also testimonies from fishermen at Black Canyon Lake who saw a bright glow light lift off and head northeast. When Travis regained consciousness, he had no idea where he was. He was in a lot of pain and had trouble breathing. When he opened his eyes, he saw those creatures. Very large eyes, no hair, with a nose and mouth. Surprisingly, he was still wearing the same clothes he had on when he was abducted. Walton fought back. He pushed one of the aliens, and though he didn't have much strength, he pushed hard enough for the being to fall onto another. He rolled off the table to the other side, grabbed an object, which Walton describes as a cylinder with transparent material inside, and threatened them with it while shouting. 3 aliens approached. He never saw them speak or change expression, and their lack of reaction sent him into an even deeper panic. Walton believes they were telepathic. He says extraterrestrials were very light and fragile. When he threatened them with the cylinder, they left the room, and minutes later, a strong-looking alien that looked human with a bright blue suit and long light brown hair entered. Trying to calm him down, he took him by the arm and led him out of the ship. They entered a cylindrical-shaped building filled with a light that felt like sunlight. Then they forced him out into another table and placed a mask over his face. He passed out. Without knowing how much time had passed, he woke up. He felt the cold on his clothes and the cold pavement beneath him. Walton was back on Earth. There was a bright light, and when he turned, it went out. He saw a glowing disc rising into the sky while the tree branches swayed from the wind it generated. He ran looking for help, found a phone booth, and called his family. The craziest thing, he had been missing for 5 days. His brother picked him up, and when he got home, he suffered a nervous breakdown. The first person he told the full story to was his brother, who was very understanding because he himself had previously had an encounter with a tic-tac-shaped craft. The family first sought medical help, but took an unusual path. Dwayne contacted a UFO researcher he had spoken to during the disappearance. That led them to Dr. Lester Stewart, a hypnotherapist rather than a conventional physician. Stewart examined Travis and immediately recommended a proper medical evaluation with lab tests before any hypnosis. He noted that Travis appeared very confused and reminded him of patients recovering from drug use. Stewart also observed a small injury on the inside crease of Travis' right elbow, which he described as consistent with a recent intravenous injection. In the first hours and days back, Travis was emotionally raw, altering between confusion, fear, and fragments of memory. He initially had trouble grasping that 5 full days that had passed. To him, the entire abort felt much shorter. Hypnosis sessions helped him recover more detailed memories of the beings and the interior of the craft. The return triggered intense media frenzy almost immediately. Local police were already suspicious of a possible hoax. The crew faced renewed polygraph tests, and the National Enquirer quickly got involved, offering money for the story and funding additional examinations. Travis' family, known locally as UFO enthusiasts, added to the skepticism from authorities. Physically, Travis recovered relatively quickly, with no major lasting injuries documented, though he lost weight and showed signs of exhaustion. The puncture mark and the rapid media circus became focal points in both believer and skeptic narratives in the critical first weeks after his return. 50 years after this encounter, the Travis Walton story remains one of the most compelling alien abductions in history. But, is any of this true? Well, here are the facts. Polygraph inconsistencies. Travis reportedly failed an early polygraph test arranged by Aerial Phenomena Research Organization and paid for by the National Enquirer. This result was never published, while later tests he passed were heavily promoted. Skeptics argue some tests use leading questions or countermeasurements like breath control. The logging contract motive. One of the most compelling skeptical arguments in the Travis Walton case centers on the severe pressure the crew faced from a U.S. Forest Service thinning contract at Turkey Springs. Mike Rogers had won the bid to clear 1,277 acres, but by October 1975, the job was badly behind schedule despite an extension to November 10th. A Forest Service inspector had already determined completion on time was nearly impossible, risking thousands of dollars in penalties and future contract bans. Just 16 days before the alleged abduction, Rogers wrote a letter admitting the crew's poor progress and low morale. The incident happened only 5 days before the final deadline. After that, the crew mostly stopped working while searches and media attention took over. Skeptics say the contract had an act of God clause that could excuse delays caused by something like a UFO. This gave them strong reason to make up for the story. The crew then focused on publicity instead of logging, and they got 5,000 from the National Enquirer soon after Travis' return. While believers say faking it with 7 guys will be too risky, the timing and money problems remain a major reason many people doubt the alien story. Behavior during the search. Family members, including Travis' mother, repeatedly asked to stop search efforts and express unusual calm, stating things like, "He's not on this earth." Walton's brother, Dwayne, confidently said Travis was not even missing. This struck investigators as odd for people whose loved one had just vanished. The hypnotherapist observations. The first medical-style consultation with hypnotherapist Lester Stewart noted Travis appeared confused and had a puncture mark on his elbow consistent with recent intravenous drug use. This raised questions about alternative explanations for his condition upon return. On the other hand, there's a lot of odds that support Walton's story. For example, the 6 witnesses that stuck together. 6 other men saw the same bright object and the beam hitting Travis. Most of them have stayed consistent with their story for over 50 years, even under pressure. Immediate aftermath behavior. Travis returned disoriented. He seemed genuinely shaken, and not like someone who just made up a story for attention, unless, of course, he was on drugs. Also, trees near the site showed unusually strong growth on the side where the craft appeared. Walton, as an experienced logger, points to this as a real physical evidence. Another detail that supports Travis Walton's story is the Fulgurite theory. On the Joe Rogan podcast, Travis explained that the Turkey Springs area has the second highest frequency of lightning strikes in the United States, only behind the Florida Everglades. Because of this ground contains a lot of fulgurite, a rare glass-like crystal created when lightning strikes the earth with extreme heat. Travis believes that aliens may have been in that specific location searching for this mineral, which will explain why their craft was there that night. This gives a practical reason for their presence and adds another layer of credibility to the encounter. So, was this just an elaborate hoax to get out of a logging contract, or did Travis Walton and his crew really experience something extraordinary that night? 50 years later, the story still divides people. The polygraphs, the witnesses, the unusual tree growth, and even the possible connection to fulgurite in one of the most lightning-prone areas in the country. All of it keeps the mystery alive. In the end, whether you believe it or not, one thing is certain. The Travis Walton incident remains one of the most fascinating and well-documented UFO cases in history. Now, I want to know, what do you think really happened that night in the Arizona forest? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did making it, and I see you guys on the next one.